solution, something that is bigger than this, bigger than that, and just works even better. And that is what we call dialectical synthesis. And it had the Barkley things because it's better than those two. Okay, so this is at the core of dialectical tension and our search for synthesis in DBT. Okay, back to our story. So I hear about this internship, and I'm 18 years old, and I'm just this little white trash girl from Downey. I don't know big fancy people like Mr. Trivia, and and I'm still living in my crappy apartment in Downey with my dad, but I'm gonna get this internship because I want it so bad. It's my ticket out of Downey, right? Now Downey's much different now. Downey's like really nice now, but it was the hood back then, and so I'm gonna get my ticket out of Downey. Okay, so I start even beyond the research that I'd already done on Mr. Trivia, because I watched those movies repeatedly, right? I knew those dresses by heart, but now I started to research what Mr. Trivia said about those dresses and about his theories of costume design, because I was going to go in and whammo, okay? So, what movie? Does anybody know?
Someone Get Hot.
No, but close. I don't know if Mr. Trivia did the costumes for that one. But this is the 7-Year Itch.
Oh,
this is the movie where Marilyn stands above the subway grate,
yes,
and the dress lifts up, right? It is actually the highest, in auction, it's sold for the most of any other costume ever, including the ruby slippers from the Wizard of Oz. Okay, this is an iconic dress. And so Mr. Trivia said when he was designing this dress that he had to combine polar opposites within this costume. He had to make Marilyn be angelic and seductive. He had to have her be naive and calculating. And he had to have her be a cool, clean girl in a dirty, dirty city. Okay. So I was really intrigued by that. I was like, you mean there's not always just one truth? I mean, you can be more than one thing. And remember, I'm this little white trash girl getting out of Downey, okay? I wanted to get to be somebody different than who I could be if I stayed there. And that clicked to me. That said to me, you can be more than one thing. This is awesome. And it was my first taste of dialectical thinking. It was my first taste that two opposing viewpoints can both be true. How am I doing time-wise?
Fine. You are doing fine. So you have about 8 minutes.
8 minutes, okay. So then one day I'm picking up, I got the job, by the way, 3-month internship. Woo! Now, the thing was I was so afraid of Mr. Trivia that I hardly ever talked to him. And he was really busy being Mr. Trivia. This was in the 80s when there were those big TV soap operas like Dynasty and Dallas, and they all hired on these really, really big-time costume designers. So Nolan Miller was doing Dynasty and putting turbans on Joan Collins, and Mr. Trivia was doing Dallas, okay? So Mr. Trivia was a busy fella. But he also scared the pants off of me. So he would just come through the workroom hour every now and then, and I'm picking up pins or doing whatever, and he'd say, "Well, hello there, young lady," and I'd squeak at him. Okay. So one day, Mr. Saris, who was Mr. Trivia's business partner, said, "There's a charity fashion show over at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and Mr. Trivia needs some help." Now, I think they were just being nice, because Mr. Trivia didn't need any help. There were dozens of people taking care of this, but I think they wanted to give the little girl a thrill, which I think was so sweet. And so Mr. Trivia threw me in his giant Cadillac convertible, and because this was the 80s when greed was good and ostentatious displays of wealth were prized, right? And we drove over to the Beverly Hills Hotel. And bless his heart, he kept trying to talk to me, and I just squeaked at him. And I had all these questions about not just this dress, but costume design and all of those things, and I didn't ask him any of them. Regret. But every time he did a charity fashion show of his ready-to-wear line, this dress would be shown at the very end, because that's what everybody,